What a beautiful day in the mountains. Love it. And hopefully it's not going to be quite as hot as it's been recently. I think fall is supposed to arrive around noon today, so hopefully it follows what it's supposed to. So welcome everybody to the fifth annual Retreat Conference. It's pretty cool that we can say this is our fifth annual. I can remember the first one we had. Directionally, I don't know where we are, but the up there in the where the chapel is, I think. Yeah, and there was like 75 of us. Nice little quiet afternoon together. But now to see we've got hundreds of people coming. That's a pretty cool journey that we've made. So my name is Keith Gordon. So I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at Ally Financial. So Ally Financial is an all-online digital bank. We're based down in Charlotte. And I've been a part of what we call the Cybersecurity Advisory Council here at Montreat for about 5 or 6 years. So basically the council is in place to help cultivate the curriculum, help students understand what's the process to, once you graduate from college or if you're going through the process to think about getting internships, how do we help students do that and connect them back into private and public industry? So I'm honored to be a part of that council, and I'm honored to be up here today. Wanted to introduce President Paul Maurer. So Paul Maurer is the president of Montreat College. So he brings a wealth of experience as the 8th president of Montreat College. As a visionary and results-driven Christian leader, he believes deeply in the value of a Christ-centered higher education. Drawing from more than 25 years of leadership in nonprofit and higher education administration, Dr. Maurer has led efforts in governance, organizational development, marketing and communication, adult and graduate studies, and government relations. Prior to Montreat, Dr. Maurer served as a senior vice president for external relations at Gordon College, and prior to Gordon, he served as president of Sterling College, both sister institutions to Montreat within the Council for Christian Colleges and Universities. And he spent nearly 2 decades in higher education leadership. He's a published author and frequent speaker, and Dr. Maurer earned his PhD in political science from Claremont Graduate University, where he was an H.B. Earhart Fellow and John M. Olin Fellow. He earned his BA from the University of Cincinnati and his MDiv from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. Dr. Maurer is a scholar of the American presidency with specific expertise in the moral and religious rhetoric of U.S. presidents. So without further ado, Dr. Maurer, I'd love to have you come up. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to add my welcome and thanks for you being here. We have journeyed a long way in these 5 years as a conference host. We've also journeyed a great deal in the program here at the college. I'm going to speak to that in just a minute. I do want to thank all of our sponsors. First, our platinum sponsor is EdgePoint Limited. I want to thank them for taking that platinum role in sponsorship. We have several gold sponsors: Ally Financial, Keith Gordon, thank you, Bank of America, Biltmore Incorporated, Corvid Cyber Defense, formerly Rocus Networks, Dixon Hughes Goodman, Mayheck, and Southern Champion Trade. Those are our gold sponsors. Our silver sponsors are Demarcian and ERC, and our bronze sponsors are Immedian, No Network Risk, Mountain Area Workforce Development, MCNC, One Who Serves, and the FBI. So would you join me in thanking all of our sponsors that made this possible? So I want to open with a few comments about some things that you already know and some things that you may not know. First is that cyber is and will remain the economic and security threat of our age. That became clear several years ago as we began to go to Washington, D.C., and as we kind of were figuring out a narrative in Washington, D.C., it became clear to us in D.C. that they were increasingly seeing cybersecurity as the greatest economic security threat of our age. We don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Cyber attacks are not slowing down. One, in 2017, 1 out of 16 URLs was a malicious URL. Last year, that had grown to 1 in 10 URLs. The increase in overall web attacks just from 17 to 18 was a 56% increase in web attacks. The Charlotte Business Journal just a few weeks ago published this cover as their cover of the Business Journal in Charlotte, "Small Isn't Safe," highlighting the reality that small and mid-sized businesses are increasingly the focus of cyber attacks. There are 313,000 unfilled posted jobs in cybersecurity in the United States today. That number is estimated to be over 500,000 by 2021. There are 13,000 unfilled jobs in cybersecurity in the state of North Carolina today for lack of educated, trained workforce. That number was 11,000 just a few months ago. These numbers are growing rapidly. They will continue to grow rapidly. We're trying to play a role in helping with that. Security has been seen as a cost, and until you get attacked, there's little tangible reward seen by a business. And so there's some hurdles to overcome for many still in industry. It's estimated that there are 2 million cyber attacks in 2018, resulted in more than $45 billion in worldwide losses. The Internet Safe Society's Online Trust Alliance, the OTA, calculated that in 2018, 95% of all breaches could have been avoided through simple and common sense approaches to improving security. These statistics are coming out of industry leaders such as Symantec and others. We recognize the need, and we are taking leadership, a role of leadership, both regionally and nationally on these matters. In 2017, we received our designation as a Center of Academic Excellence by the National Security Agency, Department of Homeland Security. If you're not familiar with cybersecurity programs in higher education, this is the gold standard. It's the de facto accreditation for cybersecurity programs in higher education. There are about 270 schools in the United States that have that designation by the National Security Agency and Department of Homeland Security. Actually, the chief of that program is here somewhere. Lynn, are you in the room? Lynn Clark? I don't see her. She must be out taking a call or doing something other covert. So Lynn has become a real friend of the program. In 2019, earlier this year, after about 2 years of working toward it, Montreat College became the 5th college in the United States with a formal memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Army to do cyber education for enlisted people in the United States Army. If you're not aware of what the Army is doing in cybersecurity, both defense and offense, their cyber training headquarters is at Fort Gordon, which is about 3.5 hours south of here. And over the next 7 years, they're building out a $2.2 billion new cybersecurity campus for for Army cyber defense and offense worldwide. Earlier this year, the NSA asked us if we would take the lead in developing a cybersecurity ethics curriculum. And so I'm chairing a national task force. We're assembling a blue ribbon task force across the country. As we've been in discussion with the NSA on this project, their desire is to add a series of competencies to the requirements of all NSA programs. And one of those competencies is what they call professionalism and ethics. And they've asked us to provide leadership in developing that professionalism and ethics curriculum. And so what this task force will do is they will come together and speak into a table of contents for a book on cybersecurity ethics. There's really a gap in the literature right now. We recognize that the greatest problems in civilized society over the last 2,500 years have always contained a moral solution to them. They've contained solutions that include character and ethics. This is true of medicine. We have the Hippocratic Oath in medicine. We have just war theory and the Geneva Conventions in warfare. We have ethics in professions like law. And so these have guided in a voluntary and imperfect way some of the great challenges of civilization over the last 2,500 years, and currently there are no guardrails on offense or on defense with regard to cybersecurity for anyone. And so what this book will attempt to do is begin to address that gap in the cybersecurity world. We also are fortunate to have received a grant from the state of North Carolina to begin the functional infrastructure of what we have named the Carolina Cyber Center. I mentioned a year ago that we were moving toward the Carolina Cyber Center. We have now received grant funding from the state of North Carolina, $2 million of startup money, and we are in the search now for the executive director of the Carolina Cyber Center. And the reason we're doing that is because we have heard from industry that we're not going to send a lot of our employees to get a degree from Montreat College, but if you had training, we need training. We need training to protect our industry, protect our data, protect our businesses. We've listened to that, and we've responded to that by starting the Carolina Cyber Center. We're now in the process of seeking additional funding for a building, a 75,000 square foot state-of-the-art building that would be built on our Black Mountain campus about 10 minutes from here. That building would house the college's academic program, the Carolina Cyber Center training program, and an innovation space for cyber business development and acceleration, cyber tech businesses for Western North Carolina. There really is no tech sector to speak of in Western North Carolina today, and we believe that this building can help trigger the beginning of a true tech sector for Western North Carolina. So I'm going to show you now a fly-through of this building and give you a brief description of that. So here's the fly-through. We can turn that music up just a little bit. We'd have a security operations center on the first floor that would be available to us and to others. We'll have functional space for conferences and gatherings. This main hall would hold about 300 people. So the idea for floors 1 and 2 is that they're flexible spaces between education and training. We would hold 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 1 week, 2 week boot camps, training facilities, online, face-to-face, hybrid, and we would use floors 1 and 2 for both education and training. third floor is designed as the innovation space, and it's an open concept space where entrepreneurs, business people, startups, both at the very beginning and along the way would come into this space for development of their businesses. The funding for this project is a public-private partnership. We have the land, we will stand it up, we will make it self-sustaining. We're seeking funding from the state of North Carolina, from the federal government, and from industry. Our first attempt at raising funds for this project has been through the state of North Carolina. This year, the legislature has met and developed the 2019-2020 budget. Currently, the college is in that budget for $20 million toward that Carolina Cyber Center building. It's passed through the legislature. It's been vetoed. The whole budget has been vetoed by the governor. If you follow budget in the North Carolina, right now they're trying to work through getting to the budget. So the House has overridden the governor's veto, and the Senate is one vote short of overriding the veto and getting to the budget. And so it's kind of a tense standoff, frankly, in Raleigh, and it has been for a number of weeks. We don't know what the outcome will be or when, but hopefully this will be resolved sooner rather than later. If that $20 million becomes reality, it's half of the project, and we'll be seeking over the next year to year and a half to finalize the funding for the Carolina Cyber Center. So I want to give you a sneak peek into what we're working on and planning. The concept is to create a national demonstration model training center. There is no such center in the United States today. There are some other training centers, but not for a state or for a region. Our objective is to help harden the cyber defenses for the state of North Carolina. And so hence going to the state for funding, because it's in the state's interest to enter a public-private partnership with someone. In this case, it's the vision that we've had for a couple of years. And so our target is to harden the cyber defenses of the state of North Carolina and provide a resource for a 250-mile radius around Asheville. If you draw a circle around Asheville of 250 miles, it includes 10% of the U.S. population, about 32 million people. And so we think that this will be replicated, this model would be replicated in other states and other regions around the United States because, as you know, there really is a dearth of training out there in the marketplace particularly for small and mid-sized businesses. So glad to give you that little peek into what we're doing, and I'm going to turn now to introducing our first speaker. Our first plenary speaker for the morning is Mr. Ed Scotus, a friend, a personal friend, a friend of the college, a friend of the program. Ed is a member of the Cybersecurity Advisory Council here at the college and has been for as long as we've had the council. He is a teaching fellow at the SANS Institute, a private U.S. company that specializes in information security and cybersecurity training. Ed really is known at a national level as a professional ethical hacker. He is also the CEO of CounterHack and appears as a cybersecurity expert on the PBS series Nova. Ed got his start in computer security during college, and after graduating, found work at Bellcore, a division of the Bell system. Following a stint in operator services, he jumped into computer security, helping respond to attacks against phone company networks. He then moved from Bellcore to SAIC, where he branched out to work with large banks, major high-tech firms, and other Fortune 500 companies. Later, he started performing incident response and penetration testing for government agencies and military customers. He has great technical expertise. He's the author of 3 books, a 500-page, a 600-page, and a 700-page book on cybersecurity. They're just getting bigger, Ed. He shares a passion for computer security and ethical hacking with thousands of students every year. He received his master's degree in information networking from Carnegie Mellon in 2002, his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from University of Michigan in 1991, Please join me in welcoming Ed Scotus.